Hello, welcome back to Tutorial Made Easy channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Delphi 10.4 Community Edition to create user login interface in Android application with SQLite database. I will divide this tutorial into two parts. The first part is creating the default database using DB browser and create a user login interface with Delphi. The second part is to use the SQLite database for our application. To know more about DB browser, please refer to a DB browser video, the link in the description. So first, let's open the DB browser. Double-click the icon. To create a new database, let's click the New Database button. Put the file into a new folder. It's a good practice to create a structure for our application. You can choose any name, but I will create the structure like this and name it myshopdb.db3. Once it's done, just click Save button. Then, we need to add a table name. Let's name it Users. This table will store our application username and password. Add columns for this table. First column, name it ID. It should be not null, primary key, and auto increment. Second column, name it username. The type is text, or we can put varchar with 100 value would be enough. Click this box to ensure it's not null. And also this one, to ensure the value is unique. Add the third column, name it password. The type should be text or varchar. I assume 100 for the character length should be enough. Click this box for not null value in this column. Let's add the fourth column, name it reg_date. This one for registration date. Select text as type, not null, and set the default value to current timestamp. Last column, name it privilege. Type is integer and not null. Also set default value to 0. Let's rearrange the column so that the registration date column become the last column. Now, it looks okay. We have finished with the users table. Let's try to add a few data in it. Just click the Browse Data and select our users table. Let's add our default data. The first username is admin and password, admin. And the second username is user and password user. Let's try to close the database and open it again, just to check they are saved. Yes, our data still exist. Our default database creation is completed. Let's close the DB browser. Now we can move on to more interesting part of this tutorial, that is creating a user interface using Delphi. Let's start the Delphi Community Edition. If you have not installed it yet, you can download and install it. The download link is in the description. It should be straightforward. For this Android application, I will select Multi-Device Application Delphi, and then let's choose Blank Application. Let's save this unit and the form in the folder that we have created when we create a new database. Let's put the unit file name as login and the project file name is my shopping app, or you can pick any name and then save it. I will change the caption of this form and the name of this form to a name more meaningful. Let's name this form to firm login. Let's add to layout. You can pick it from the palette. And for each layout, I will change the alignment to client and bottom. Next step is to add a rectangle. Pick a rectangle from the palette and put it on the form. I need to ensure that the palette is inside our first layout. If not, we have to move it. Just click and drag in the structure window. Next, set the rectangle alignment to client and set the color of the rectangle. I will pick a solid blue color. In this, you may also choose a gradient or even an image to fill the rectangle. I also want to remove the border line of the rectangle. To do this, set the stroke to none. I think the blue rectangle should cover all the form. We have to move the bottom layout inside the rectangle. Go to the structure, then drag and drop the bottom layout, just like this. Add a new rectangle, set the alignment to center, and then resize the rectangle like this. Add a new layout inside the new rectangle. I think we should change the name of this rectangle to make it easier to identify. I will call it RE Inputs. Set alignment of this layout to bottom. Next, I will add a line component, a label, and an edit component. These are for username and password entry. Select those components from palette window, one by one, and put them in the rectangle input. Change the line from diagonal to bottom. Set the alignment to horizontal and margin left and right to 30. Add a label component. Make sure that it placed inside the line component. Next, add an edit component. Make sure this also inside the line component. I need to make both label and edit component are inside the line component. If not, we can just drag and drop like this. Let's change the alignment of these component. Set alignment of the label component to top and the edit component to client. Change the edit component style to transparent edit. The label should be a line top. And this one should be client. Change the edit component to ed username. Set the left margin of the edit component to 20. And change the label name to set the label text to username. Set the font to bold. Font name should keep as default or Courier New. For password inputs, let's make a copy of this line component. If properly arranged, that should include the edit and label component. Select the line component, move it a little bit on top, copy by pressing Ctrl+C on the keyboard. Paste it inside the input rectangle by pressing Ctrl+V. I have pasted in the wrong place, so I have to move it inside the input rectangle. In the structure window, just drag and drop like this. Move the new line component below the first one. Then we need to change the label and edit component name and text to password. Next, let's add a circle component. Also add a new layout. Make it bigger than the input rectangle. Move the new layout inside the first rectangle, or the blue rectangle. Rearrange the input rectangle. Move it inside the new rectangle. The circle now inside the input rectangle. Now set the circle alignment to horizontal.
Move it a little bit to top. Select the input rectangle and set the color like we have done before. This time I would like to set to gradient blue to white color.
Next, remove the border, set the stroke value to none. Also, I would like to change the corner. Next, add an image component. Set the image alignment to center. Click the circle component to change the color and remove the border. Click the image component. We need to load a user image. You can just download the icon image from the internet. Make sure to check the license. I have one already in the folder, so I will just load it. Click the multi-resolution bitmap and set the icon file. Let's add a label component for the title. Set the text, for example, member login. Change the label component alignment to horizontal. And then set the label text alignment to center. Select the input rectangle and set the bottom margin so that it will make it close to the top. This layout is for login button. Let's make it bigger. Next, add a checkbox component and a corner button component. Change the button component name to be T-Login and the button text to Login. Change the checkbox text to Show Password and the name to CB Show Password. Let's run it on Windows device first to see how it looks like. Click the Debug Play button. The linking and compiling our project is in progress. It's compiled successfully. We can see our application in Windows. I think we need to make this button so it will closer to the Show Password checkbox. Select the input rectangle and then set the bottom margin to 50. This layout is not used, so I will delete it. Hopefully this time it will look better. Let's see. Now, it's changed the target platform to Android 32-bit. You need to connect your Android phone to your computer. Click Run, or I can press F9 on the keyboard. Our project is compiled and installed successfully. I am using a screen mirroring application. But the font does not look good. We will fix that later. However, the position of username and password looks okay. First, let's fix the checkbox position so that its text is not truncated. It looks that I have put it in wrong parent. It should be inside the input rectangle, so let's move it. The alignment is horizontal and set the left and right margin. The password entry should be masked. Click on Password Edit component and set the password to true. Also, I will add an event on the checkbox component and write a code so that when the checkbox is checked, it will unmask the password. Okay, now, let's try on Windows platform first. Looks better. Before we try on Android platform, let's write a code on keydown event for username and password edit components. The code is in the description. Basically, this code will change the focus to another component whenever the return key or done is pressed. So in the username edit component, once the user press return key, then it will focus to the password edit component. And for the password edit component, once the user press return key, then it will focus to login button component. Next, I will also add on click event for the login button. This time I will only do a checking, just in case the user enter an empty text. If yes, it will show an error message. We will put more code on this event when we validate the entry with SQLite database. Now, let's try to compile this. We have completed the user login interface. In the second part of this tutorial, I will show you how to use SQLite database for the username and password verification, and also I will inform you a link to download the source code in the next video. You can find the video link in the description.
Thank you. If you find this video is useful, you can support us by subscribe to this channel and click the bell. See you in the next video.